Guys, welcome to episode 19 of the Ministry Man podcast. But first of all, what the hell is going on with Jim Carrey? Like, I've never been super into the idea of there being clones. Like, I've always been super skeptical. But what the hell is going on with Jim Carrey? Like, that does not look, not only does it not look like him, it doesn't sound like him in his voice, and he isn't speaking about the same things in the same way that he used to. Like, okay, let's take this back, all right? Because the whole clone thing has been circulating for a little while. I heard rumors that Avril Lavigne was a clone. I heard that Eminem was a clone. I've heard, I don't know, so many different clone theories, right? And then the one that was like the big one that got everyone kind of thinking about, okay, this is really weird, was the Kanye West one. Because, first of all, Kanye was super, super Christian, made a full gospel Christian music album, had fully given his life to God, and was talking about it openly everywhere. And then, at the same time, he was also saying some other things. He was exposing some people. He was very against the tiny hats. But all of a sudden, he also warned people, if I ever go missing and come back, it's a clone, it's not me. Or he said something, it's not going to be me. And then lo and behold, he disappears for like 3 months and comes back looking completely different and talking about different things. He's not a Christian anymore. He was like, he's different in height. He gained weight, not just like regular gain weight, but like a lot in a small amount of time. He wasn't gone for that long. And then he like starts a porn studio or a porn production company and starts putting satanic references in his new songs. So from one scale, like being fully Christian, to now I'm starting a pornography studio or production studio. And now I'm talking about satanic references in my music now. So like, what are we meant to think about that? Because there's a couple of options, right? Maybe he's a clone. Maybe they just drugged him up. Maybe he did get taken away somewhere. They drugged him up and they did something. So maybe there is some room for other theories there. Nonetheless, him saying before he disappears, if I ever disappear and come back, it's not me. That's, strange. In addition to that, we're seeing things like Diddy getting arrested, and then he's walking out. You're like, that's not Diddy. That's a different guy. Like, what kind of weird prosthetics is that? Like, he's getting walked out, and his face is completely blown up like a balloon. Then you've got Ghislaine Maxwell getting her shot taken, and it's like, dude, there is no way that it's her. That's not even a clone thing. That's just like a completely different human being, like a body double. Not a clone type thing, but we're being lied to. Like, we're obviously being lied to. And, sometimes we're like, you hear about a girl and a guy dating, and like the guy is just like cheating profusely, and the girl just kind of refuses to believe it. And the guy is just like, she's like, oh, show me the messages. And he's like, oh yeah, my phone stuffed up. All my messages got deleted. And like, what? Like, yeah, I had like a virus and like all of my messages got deleted. And like, well, show me your Instagram messages then. Oh no, like literally like all of my messages, even Instagram and Snapchat, like this, I don't know what it was. It was some weird virus that got deleted, like deleted everything. I don't have any messages on my whole phone. And then the girl just like, oh, well, her friends are trying to tell her like, hey, he's obviously cheating on you. Why would he delete his messages? No, he didn't delete them. He said he got a virus. That's what he said. And it's like, this is what it feels like when they're trying to tell us, like the news is feeding us this garbage. And then we're just supposed to believe it and be like, yeah, well, that's what they said. They said that was Ghislaine Maxwell and then that was Diddy and that this is just the regular Kanye. Nothing happened. And we're just meant to buy it. And it's like, it's insane. So you look at this Jim Carrey thing and like with everything in light of like what's been happening in the world lately, you're like, what the hell is this, bro? How do you expect me to believe it's him? Like, in light of everything, it's like sooner or later, when you start, like, if someone lies to you all the time, even like a couple of times, you no longer should trust that person. Like, if someone goes to me, oh, yeah, it's going to rain tomorrow. And I go, oh, really? And they go, yeah, yeah. And then it doesn't. And then I go, okay, that's annoying. And then the next day, go, oh, no, but it's going to rain the day after. It's definitely going to rain. You go, okay. So I get my raincoat and get my umbrella. And then it doesn't rain again. I'm not going to listen to you about the weather anymore because you keep getting it wrong. In the same way, if someone goes, oh yeah, this guy's gonna win this UFC fight. You got to bet on him, and then he loses. You're like, well, dude, like every time I listen to you, you get it wrong, so I'm not going to listen to you anymore. So, in light of every thing that's come out with the Epstein files and everything, mind you, Biden was mentioned in the Epstein files by Jeffrey Epstein as having died in 2019. Now, obviously, we know there was a Biden that was walking around. I mean, I'm pretty sure it even said in the document that they had to get a clone of him. Like, am I tripping? Did they say that? They're censoring it, dude. No joking, they're censoring it. Yeah, it did. It was the person that sent the email claimed that they were replaced by a body double or a clone. And that it wasn't working well. That it was it wasn't a good clone or something. I'm annoyed that I can't find it. Like, they're censoring this stuff so hard, which is even worse. Like, why is Google censoring this? This should be, I saw it so many times on Instagram. It should come up pretty easily when I type in Biden clone, Epstein file. It should be one of the first things to come up. And it's completely censored. That's crazy. So, in light of that, the Jim Carrey stuff is wild. His eye color is different, for one. His voice is completely different. The way that he was speaking, like the cadence of his voice and everything, like his whole vernacular was different. He seemed to be very fond of Hollywood all of a sudden, when he's been very anti-Hollywood for a long time and not into these award shows at all. Even though this one seemed to be like a French one that he had to speak in French for, his speech. He was also shown talking about, certain things. He was kind of blowing the whistle on a lot of things as well. So it's not like he was just like a random guy like Denzel Washington or something who's just minding his own business. Not really, he speaks about Jesus sometimes, but he's not really exposing people in the way that Jim Carrey was. I mean, Jim Carrey was saying things like, it's not good for a country to kidnap kids. And he was literally blowing the whistle on Illuminati and Bohemian Grove and things on Jimmy Kimmel a few years ago. So he was not only aware of this stuff, but talking about this stuff, joking about this stuff. One of the weirdest things ever, so this is probably the weirdest part of the Jim Carrey thing, is when they asked him in one of the interviews, one of the reporters when he was on the carpet, and they said, "What's your favorite funny face to make?" And he turns to the camera and he goes, "My favorite funny face is the one I'm wearing right now." And he just looked plainly at the camera and then kind of laughed after it and then walked off. What are we meant to think of that? How am I meant to receive that information, Jim? My favorite funny face is the one I'm wearing right now. I mean, what the hell is going on, dude? First of all, why is, people have been speaking about this. Why is there no protests about the Epstein files? Why is there no arrests about the Epstein files? You've got all the names redacted, but you've got all the names. Just because we don't know a lot of the names, we do know some of the names, but you're not making any arrests. Everything, all of these conspiracies are true now. That's what it makes me think. Every single thing that I've thought is a conspiracy, I think is true now. Because there's always this element of like, well, like, maybe there's not. In order to believe a conspiracy theory, there's a certain amount of things that you have to deny. Like you have to deny the general consensus. Like you have to deny what is the official story. So that's not easy to do. You have to have a certain amount of information to warrant that being rational. You can't just be like, someone goes, oh, I think that let's say that there's aliens that are walking on the earth among us, and you go, okay, like what proof is there? And they go, well, I just believe that there is. And you're like, so it's not really rational for me to believe you then, because you haven't really given me anything to believe. So like there needs to be something, right? And then the less there is, obviously, the less likely it is that someone's going to commit to the belief, or at least that they should commit to the belief. Some people really don't need much at all. But take the moon landing for example. There's so much now. The further we get away from when they said that the moon landing happened, the less likely it is that it really happened. Or at least the harder it is to believe that it really happened. Like my first episode, I spoke about how like, insane it is to think that they called the White House on a landline from the moon. They're not calling the moon from a landline. Like, are you out of your mind to think that? They brought back a bit of moon rock, and then it turned out it was a bit of petrified wood. But they said it was moon rock, so how can it be petrified wood? Like, there's all these things. They were all four of the people that went to the moon were depressed after it. They were so sad. It was like they were completely guilty. Like anyone that does any kind, like there's guys on YouTube that do those things where they read body language and they go, yeah, there's obviously like something up. You don't even have to be some CIA special detective to realize that these guys were sad and down and they weren't comfortable lying about going to the moon. They weren't excited at all. And they were just beside themselves. And then you got Buzz Aldrin saying things like, years later, he's going, well, it wasn't live. You thought it was live, but actually it wasn't live. And then a little girl asks him like, oh, how come we can't go back to the moon? And he goes, well, it's because we never went. He's saying it out loud. Like, what are we doing, dude? And there's people that still believe it. They make videos from NASA, and that they've got like a girl that her hair is hairsprayed completely up and it's completely stiff. It's solid hair, being like, "Whoa, I'm floating up in outer space." It's like, and then they make you using your reasonable, rational eyes and be like, "Okay, like she's got hairspray in, and that they're not floating." And the videos of them like grabbing the invisible lines and pulling people back in, so they're floating in outer space, and then all of a sudden they start to move away, and someone grabs something that's invisible and pulls, and the person comes with them. Oh, like we're getting gaslit. We're getting gaslit so hard. All the COVID stuff, they said, yep, if you get the jab, then you're not going to get COVID. And then what do you know? They did get COVID. And they go, oh, that's because you need a booster shot. And then so they get that. And they go, well, you can't transmit it. And they go, no, well, actually, you can transmit it, but it's just not as bad. And then for some reason they tried to say, oh, all the people that don't get the jab, then they're the reason why it's spreading. And you're like, how is that the reason it's spreading? You said if they get it, then it spreads anyway. And then they just roll their eyes at you and be like, yeah, you're the reason that my grandma died. And you're like, what the hell, dude? Like, this world is insane, bro. I honestly don't know what to make of this world anymore. We live in an absolute mockery of a world where logic and reason doesn't matter anymore. It's all emotional. It's all politics. It's all people trying to convince you of something just because they want to feel a particular way, or people not believing something because they don't want to feel a particular way, or because they don't want to change their life. Like, now that this Epstein stuff has sort of come out, what do you think? They're still covering it up, by the way, because they obviously they redacted a lot of names. Which, why would they do that? Like, these are pedophiles. Why are you redacting names? Why don't you release all the names? Why aren't you arresting people? Like, you're still covering it up. Even now we know, and no one seems to really care, by the way, because they protest when one person dies in some sort of sketchy accident, and maybe they got shot, but it's like, the lines were blurred. No matter whose side you're on, it's not like this cold cut case, but this is a cold cut case. So what the hell are we doing? Why is no one caring about this? Why aren't we outraged? Where's the outrage? Like we're talking about the biggest scandal in the history of the world, the most like demonic, evil, darkest scandal in the history of the world that we know of, definitely in the history of our lifetime for sure. And you're talking about voting him out. Oh, we want get Trump out of office. What? Dude. Like people so Bro. What are we doing, man? All it takes, this is the thing. All it takes for someone to think that you're crazy is just to mention, I don't know, 3 things that the CIA have openly admitted and confessed to. You just start talking about that and people think you're a conspiracy theory weirdo kook. Like MK Ultra is a thing that they were practicing mind control and they were trying to figure out how to do mind control. And they got caught. They admitted to it. They had to stop what they were doing and they had to pay some money probably. Do you really think that that's all that happened? Do you really think that they're like, oh, you caught us doing our little test. You caught us doing our studies trying to do mind control. Oh, thanks for the slap on the wrist. We won't do that anymore. Shut it all down, boys. Yeah, you don't think the CIA is just going to like do it more secretly? Like if they're covering up things even now, like Kash Patel goes onto Joe Rogan and he goes, do you really think if there was a list that I wouldn't have released it by now? Okay, well, now we know there is a list. So you were lying then. So you lied on Joe Rogan, director of the FBI. So what else are you lying about? Like it is just lies from top to bottom. It is lies, lies, lies everywhere. Hollywood is full of pedos. Politicians, they're all pedos. They're all sick and they're all covering each other up. Judges, lawyers, police, politicians, all of them are all corrupt. It's insane. So this is what the takeaway should be from this, okay? If you see all this stuff happening, right? You see that you start to question some things and you go, okay, so there's some real evil in the world. What else is happening? Like all these other conspiracies that are happening. And you kind of like look, okay, why are they covering these things up? What are the conspiracies? You start to follow the trail, start to investigate a little bit. You go, where is the end? What's the end to all of this? And you find out that a lot of these people really, really hate Jesus and they seem to really, really love Satan and some weird demonic entities as well, like Baal or Moloch or some of these like these are referenced as well, some ancient biblical deities that are demons that it turns out that some people in some really high places, some really powerful people are worshipping. So if they're worshipping these weird old demons that are thousands and thousands of years old, referenced in manuscripts that date back before Jesus even existed, like thousands of years before that, and you go, okay, so why are they doing that? Maybe they know something that I don't know. Maybe I should investigate Jesus, since they seem to hate him so much, since, you know, there's such a trend in being able to mock mock Jesus and not mock anyone else. You can freely mock Christianity. You can't mock anything else. Does that not raise awareness? Does that not make you think for a little second? Why? I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because he's the only real one and they don't really care if people follow another religion, because if it's not the one true God, well, then it's a false God. And so then they don't really care. They only care about the real one. So like, wouldn't you want to just investigate Christ? They say the devil's greatest deception was fooling the world that he never existed to begin with. So that's that's my question is, why are you not investigating something that is like so thoroughly embedded into our society as well? We live in 2026. What does that mean? Why 2026? Well, what happened 2026 years ago? Jesus died. The time and date that we live in the history of our world is split in two by the death of one man, it's Jesus Christ. Don't you think that there's some significance there? Like, it doesn't even matter if you believe in the Zeus-looking style God. Like, people have this idea that God is this bearded man in the sky that they get from pictures, or they get from basically from Greek mythology of Zeus. Some big guy just sitting there being like, I'm going to do this thing. It's definitely not what the Bible describes God as, for one. It describes God as a consuming fire, describes God as love. It describes God as light. It describes God as, like, in all these different ways. Yes, it says we are made in the image of God as human beings. But what does that mean? Does God have fingers and toes and a mouth and a nose? Or are we made in his image in the way that we enjoy, we love, we laugh, we care, we socialize? There's community, there's fellowship, there's things that happen that is so much more outside of a physical appearance. God isn't a material being, remember, because the idea of God, or at least the logical nature of God, is that he created all things that are matter, all things time, and all things space. So in order for you to create those things, you can't be those things. You can't be matter and create matter. You can't be within time and then create time. You have to be logically outside of those things. You have to predate those things. So God is, well, let's say, even if you don't believe in the Christian God, God himself, or let's say anything it is, the fact that matter exists and time exists and space exists rather than it not existing tells us that it was created, because everything else in our nature has been created. There isn't anything that you can look or point to that has not been created in some respect. I mean, you can say that maybe the earth has been there forever, but if you believe in the Big Bang, which is the general consensus throughout both religious belief and atheistic belief, that there was a beginning, that there was a Big Bang, that something, that the universe had a beginning. So I'm going further away from what I wanted to talk about, but God is not this idea of the bearded man in the sky. God is the highest possible good. God is the only thing that it actually is good. They say to Jesus, "Good teacher, what must I do to get into heaven?" And he says, "Why do you call me good? Only God in heaven, my Father, is good." Now, what he's saying is, he's not saying that he's not good. He's asking the person, do you realize what you're saying to me? Because Jesus has a habit of saying that. He would say, who do you say that I am? He would want people to come to the realization of who he is. So Jesus is God, and God is the everlasting, the beginning and the end. The Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt amongst them. So Jesus is the Word. Jesus is what's called the Logos. It's very interesting because Logos also means reason. Reason, in the Greek meaning, Logos is a Greek word, and it means reason. And in an ancient Greek philosophy, they were obsessed with this word reason. They were obsessed with the Logos. And they would always try to appeal to the Logos, to say the Logos is what controls everything. So they're not believers in God or Christianity or anything. This is before Jesus even existed. as far as before God had come down as Jesus. Now, they spoke about the Logos a lot, and they spoke about the reason being the highest governing form of that we should adhere to. Reason is the guiding principle of the world. If you live within reason and according to reason, that is the highest possible form you could submit yourself to, or that you could be elevated to live in complete reason rather than living outside of reason, I suppose. Now, Justin Martyr, he's a man who's one of the first Christian apologists. And what an apologist is, if anyone doesn't know, it's a defender of the faith. In the Bible, in 1 Peter, it says, if you are to have a faith, you should have an apologia, which is a reason for your faith. You should have, there should be an understanding of what it is that you believe. Is it logically consistent? Is there any empirical evidence? These sorts of things. So when you are a Christian apologist, it is that you are someone that understands the reasons that you are a Christian and you understand the reason of your faith. So this man named Justin Martyr comes along and he goes into defend the faith against people that are of different belief systems, specifically the Greeks and the Romans. And so he says to them, no. Jesus is the Logos. Jesus is this is what John writes about, that in the beginning was the Logos, and Logos was with God and was God. So he's saying that, like the Old Testament is a precursor to Christ for the Jews, the Old Testament is littered with references to Christ to come. They said the Old Testament is Christ concealed, the New Testament is Christ revealed. So Christ is concealed throughout the Old Testament. So this is like a precursor to Christ, and it is almost like for the Jews, it was supposed to be this identifier and preparing them for the Christ to come, in the same way that reason was preparing the Greeks who didn't have the Old Testament or the Jewish literature or the Jewish scripture. So what they did have was this idea of reason being a governing thing. So Jesus comes along and he is known as being the Word of God, the Logos of God. He is the reason. That's why Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, because he is the way to walk. He is the truth of it all, and he is the life, which is what gives you what is the sustained thing. If you're not living in, or if it's not life, it's death. And so living according to Christ, or reason, that is Christ is reason, that is your gateway to life. That is, I'm probably not explaining this well, but what I'm saying is investigating Jesus is the smartest thing you could ever do, because there is so much there. There is logical consistency within Christ. There is all good things within Christ. There's light and life within Christ. If you think about it, like the reason that we think so poorly and so that we know that the things on Epstein Island were so dark and so evil is that we have a concept of what is good. And the fact that evil exists, it must mean that there must be a good that exists as well. Now the issue is figuring out exactly what it is that good is, and I believe that good is Christ. That Christ is all things good, true, and beautiful. He is those three things objectively, and that is our guiding point. So if you want to navigate life, you would want to know that the map that you're using to navigate life and the direction that you're heading is the best one. And so if you don't have one, then you're completely disoriented. You're completely aimless. And you're just bouncing around from what you feel might be good or bad. But we know that feelings can be deceptive. Like feelings aren't a good guide for truth. If someone gets a weird emotional feeling just on the way that someone looks, it doesn't mean that that person's like a bad person. You know, there's people it's like, yeah, I don't know, like I just don't like the way they looked at me, or so I'm off them. It's like that you're basically conforming to a truth that that person is bad just based on an emotional feeling, not whether they are actually bad or not. So there's like your emotions aren't a good guide. You can't, like, children are probably good examples for this. As children, they get upset about so many things that they shouldn't even get upset about. If they take a toy off someone, and then the other kid takes it back, the person that initially took the toy will start crying. And they go, "Oh, they took it." It's like, yeah, well, you stole it first, though, so you shouldn't actually, like, the person that took it back didn't do the wrong thing, even though the kid feels that they were hard done by. Emotions are not a good guide of truth. So, if that's the case, we need something outside of emotions to dictate what it is that we think is right or wrong. And if it's not that, if you are one of these emotivists, if you're one of these people that thinks that truth is subjective, that it can change, that's the most dangerous thing ever. Because if truth is subjective and evil is subjective, you don't really have the grounds to say, well, at least that what happens on Epstein Island is objectively wrong and it's objectively evil. And objectively, you shouldn't do that. In philosophy, David Hume famously said that you can't get an ought from an is, which is to say, the fact that something is, that the fact that something exists doesn't infuse anyone with the ought or the should to do anything about it. So the fact that, let's say, someone is drowning, you could say, oh, well, someone ought to save them. But in a subjective moral worldview, you can't really say that you ought to do anything. Because what are you grounding it in? And people go, oh, well, it's just like flourishing, human flourishing, less suffering, all this sort of things. It's like, yeah, but so what? Like, why is that objectively bad? It's subjectively bad for sure. But why is it objectively, like, why are you saying you ought to do anything? You can't ground your oughts in anything. So the beautiful thing about Christianity is that you can do that. We get our understanding of what is right and wrong through Christ. So that is why I love Christianity. It gives you a complete moral framework that you can use to navigate life, and it's perfect. It's perfect in the sense that it's organized perfectly. The issue is us not being able to use it perfectly, because everyone's flawed. But that doesn't mean that the person that created it is flawed. But seriously, like, regardless of what your logical beliefs are, what you think is right or wrong, what you think is possible that could happen, clones are real, they're not real, God exists, he doesn't exist, evil is objective or subjective, whatever it is that you believe, if you haven't done a thorough investigation into Christ and what it is that the Christians actually believe, a lot of people don't realize what Christianity is, what it is that they believe. Most people sort of think, oh yeah, Christianity, that's that thing where you're not allowed to have sex with people and you're not allowed to get drunk and there's all these rules. And you're like, dude, that is such a shallow interpretation of Christianity. Like, that's the last thing that I think about in my walk with Christ is some of these random things that people say, oh yeah, that's what, you're not allowed to do that. And you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, true. That is true. It's not, but it's such a reductive way to pose those things. It's like, you don't want to do those things. It's less that you can't. You definitely are told not to do those things. But when you change and you conform your life differently. So your goals are different. What you aim for is different. So it's like someone saying, oh yeah, in Christianity, you're not allowed to eat dirt. And you're like, I don't want to eat dirt. It's like, yeah, it's true. I mean, it's not, it doesn't say that in the Bible. I mean, probably shouldn't eat dirt. But my point is, people don't understand that the people that are devout in their faith don't want to do the things that they're told not to do anyway. Yeah, but like there's so much depth in it. There's so much life. It gives you life. It gives you purpose, understanding. It's fun. I love the Bible, bro. I love reading my Bible. I love God, bro. I love Jesus, bro. You don't get it. So just know that Christ is King, okay? And Jesus loves you. And he's coming back soon, so get to know him. Thanks for listening.